Let's call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. on the 10th of September 2019. And adoption of the agenda, Madam President.
That was the chairperson. I move that we adopt the agenda as printed.
And I second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And approval of the minutes. We had a chance to peruse the minutes of the August 13th combined meeting of the Finance Committee and the Facilities Committee. Are there any corrections or changes that you would see?
No, not at this point. I've had the opportunity to review the August 13, 2019 combined meeting with facilities and finance.
And would you move that?
I move that we approve the minutes as printed.
Okay, I second that. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good evening. How are you?
All right. Good evening. Hi. Okay, let's see. Financial update, we'll have to wait for Ms. Wilson to come in. Which one of those, Mr. Weekly, do you want to attack? Approach?
I'll do the bond schedule.
All right, so please.
Off the premises.
Thank you.
Yep. So what I've prepared for you is really, it's a draft, obviously, but I want to prepare for you two different scenarios. First of all, these are both 4/7 votes. April 7th, which I think we have discussed, and also the August 4th election. Both elections are 4/7 voting, so that's why we chose those. I put together kind of a general guideline for us to look at. I realize this is somewhat a draft form, but I wanted to be sure to kind of give you some of the scenarios that we were going to have to, here's some scenarios. If we did the April 7th vote, this is what it might look like as far as the events that have to occur along the way. In bold, you'll see, which is kind of the cornerstone of both elections, it's really when is the bond language due? And so you have to do that 90 days prior to the election. So Tuesday, January 28th is kind of the final date that we would have to have bond language to the election authority to make sure we were on the ballot. So that's pretty quick. January 28th to be here before we know it. And so I put together kind of a draft schedule of things that we would have to get done before that ballot language have to happen. And then obviously there's a couple things after that as well. So I did the same on the other one. Then the second page is just the different election date. The August 4th date, same format. What could occur, and then the bond language date is due Tuesday, May 26th, and of course the vote would be Tuesday, August 4th. So this kind of gives the committee and the district kind of an idea of some things that need to occur or have to occur for us to get ready. Obviously there are pros and cons to both election dates for that, and so I'll take any questions you might have, or
I might ask, on your timeline, I don't see, and maybe this would be on your purview, but maybe it's more of a board or a superintendent board action, where we appointing of any citizens committee.
yeah, I did put that on here. Community forum, that may be where that occurs, or the makeup of that wasn't a part of this process. I just want to give kind of here's what we have to achieve by certain dates type thing. So you're right, you may want to form a committee with community people and various folks. So,
Well, based on the April 7th timeline, do you feel that we have the adequate amount of time to pursue a bond if it looks like RFP is going out September 24th, 2019.
I worry about bid coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my biggest concern about going for an April bond is bid coverage. And what I mean by that is, once we get an architect and a construction manager, do we have the time to put out enough, when we put out the subcontracting or contracting for all the work that needs to be done, are we going to get the bid coverage we want? Adequate bids for all the work that needs to be done in the time frame we're asking. I will tell you, construction companies right now are already kind of booked for, spring and summer work. So I worry about, are we gonna get the coverage we want, meaning the price we want, and the quality of company we want to do that? So I worry a lot about bid coverage. Cost alternates, oftentimes it's difficult to find, if we give an architect and a construction manager enough time to work together, they can come up with cost alternates that are different than maybe what the original scope was, to help that will reduce our cost and be more efficient with our monies. So I'll worry a little bit about that. In the April time, I think we'll have a hard time establishing alternates. So I think that will be a problem. Oftentimes, if you do save money in some cost alternates, you may not have the time to say, if we save this money, we can do this. I think the April one puts us in a position where we won't have very good ad alternates. Let's see. The other part of this too is I want to make sure that we have enough time I want the construction manager at risk to make sure they have enough time to look at WBEs, MBEs, and local merchants in that process as well. So I really want I know sometimes those are difficult to find in some trades, and we certainly want to get them as much time as possible to seek those subcontractors out during that process. And just really lining up the contractors, getting them to commit to a date that coincides with what our present work is. And that's the part. You've got Lee Summit's got a $190 million project that's been approved. You've got Center in the middle of a project now that's been approved. So we're competing a little bit against Shawnee Mission, Oak Grove, Blue Valley is also doing a project.
Those are for the April?
Yeah, well, no, just in general, they're doing it right now and then next 2 or 3 years. So we're really competing quite a bit with school jobs right now.
Okay.
So that's why I keep emphasizing the bid coverage piece. I'm really concerned if we go too quick that we're not gonna have the bid coverage we want. And I really want us to have great pricing and great contributions on vendors' parts to say, here's our best guess with everything we have, and I'd rather have 10 vendors than 2. And the bid coverage is very important with that.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be very critical, because I know that some board members have shown interest in the April, pursuing an April bonds. And so we just kind of have to see what our colleagues think, but I mean, based on what Mr. Ripley is saying, I think, I'm open to the April and or August.
Well, I would tend to go for the August, but there are some pros and cons about that. If we go April, that's a smaller turnout of voters.
True.
Sometimes you're better off with that.
Right.
August is a primary, and which is a national election, and everybody hopefully will vote. But that might, so you never know how that's going to flip on us.
Right.
So you can't read the tea leaves and determine how that's going to turn out. So that's, sometimes it's better if you don't have a lot of folk going to the poll for something like this. But if this is not something that increases taxes,
right.
So it's much more sellable, if you will, marketable, if you will, going that way. So I would, if you would agree, and I would say let's wait and go to August.
Okay.
And I think would you feel comfortable making that recommendation to the board or have some discussion there, at least what we
think I feel comfortable making a recommendation, but allow
Yes,
discussion.
sure.
Sure.
If you decide to go otherwise, so be it.
Right.
And I'd be glad to cover those items that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
And to be, to play both sides here, my biggest concern with August is, what's the communication look like in the summer months? There's a marketing issue there where, a lot of people are disengaged from school during summertime. So we're going to have to be very careful about how we craft our message in the summertime for an August vote. We're going to have to be very careful with that and be very intentional. The other part of it is that, but I like the idea of an August vote for the purpose of people are kind of coming back to school type of mentality, which is good. And we do have some opportunities to do some marketing with the back to school rally and some other stuff that we could do during that summer month. So there's going to be opportunity there. I just want to make sure we get our message out clear and concise you know, during the summer months. And we can, this is where I have to be very intentional.
You know, one of my biggest concerns, Director Brooks, is the timing for construction to take place during our regular school year. I mean, with the April bond, it will afford us the opportunity to have some months of construction while school is out. So depending on what projects are selected, I mean, that could be a con as well. I mean, how are we gonna, you know, depending on what those projects are. I know the football field is something that we discussed, hopefully rolling into a bond if, you know, we don't receive a grant or other sources of revenue for that.
Sure.
So there's some major concerns as well.
And I think you're right. Particular projects would lend itself to an April vote. There are particular projects that it wouldn't matter. I mean, there's always going to be things you can do in the wintertime, depending on the project. So I think there's a lot of preparation we could do and things in the wintertime or fall to winter. Obviously, we talked about the football field being done during winter because it's a cheaper price, whether we get pilot grants or whatever other funding we get, or if we do it all through the bond. Our consideration was always doing the football field in the winter because it's a 10% discount. So if we didn't do it this fall, before this coming fall, meaning 20 fall, then we could do it right after the football season. That way, you know, we're covered for just one. We just need to go for one more season on the field. So, because construction costs for summer football field replacement is 10% higher, and but there's other things we could do. I mean, there's other things we can do, curbing on rooftops for units, and there's all different kinds of projects we can do ahead of time in preparation for other work. So.
Would you feel more comfortable just leaving it open, or we want to say at least the two of us, and I'm not sure whether Watch will be here before we adjourn, but with the two of us say we would prefer August, or just leave it open and just say we had the discussion and let Mr. Wrigley review.
Yeah, I think this is, at this point, I would say let's just leave it open, because I know that this is a very important issue for a number of board members, and their voices should definitely be heard.
Okay. Well, we would do that anyway, but I just thought maybe we want to say, well, it's our feeling that maybe we ought to go August, but we leave it up to the board. Well, okay, at least we've had a discussion and we know what it is. Okay.
And they can watch the video.
Yeah.
So should this be added on the September 24th agenda as new business, discussion? How would you like to proceed in terms of the agenda? Because is the board expected, are you preparing to vote on the 24th, so we have some guidance in terms of the
I think we should be prepared to vote after a short discussion. I mean, we have it on video, we can circle back. Some of their concerns have been answered on the tape, so we should be ready to take action on that day.
Okay.
So it doesn't disrupt the RFP.
RFQ. First. Then the RFP.
RFQ for architecture.
Yeah, RFPs for the construction manager is.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, all right then. Aaron, do you have anything else on your agenda? And there that you need to discuss?
Not for that item, no, sir.
I'm sorry?
Not for that item, no, sir.
Okay, all right, well then, we'll go. Ms. Wilson, good evening.
Good evening.
And the gentleman to your left there. Good evening.
How are you?
I think, Ms. Wilson, you're financial update on 4.0.
At the September board meeting, I'll be bringing the budget forth for an adoption. As of today, our fund balance is sitting at a 15.0004.
I'm sorry, Ed.
15.0004. There's just a few little tweaks that I'm still working on, but I'll have all that finalized, so, but that's where we're at as of today on our budget. Insurance, we made a payment at the end of August of half of what we owed. I've come up with an insurance timeline on when we would make payments. Basically, it would be every third month, so we'd be making 4 payments a year. But I pushed the one in the fall from November to December because that's when we get our money from Jackson County, is at the end of December, 1st of January. So, but I've been looking at doing a half of the outstanding balance I did in August, which was $269,448. Making it at least half of the outstanding balance in December, if not more, depending on what we get in. Half of the outstanding balance in March, and then in June, half to the remainder of the outstanding balance, depending on what that is and where our fund balance is. So that's my plan moving forward with, the benefits, and if anything changes on that, I'll make sure to bring it to the finance committee.
At your last reporting, we weren't at 15 point on the.
We were at 15.3.
Were we at 15?
We were at 15, but barely, and it's
Okay.
with the adjustments of all the updated salaries and all of that.
Oh, yes, okay, now,
Yeah.
okay, all right, okay, so we're holding at least,
Yes.
okay, all right.
And I believe that was all I had on the financial update for this month.
Yeah. I do have one thing. I've been thinking, Director Brooks, about our goals for the 2021 school year fund balance. I know that you have us targeted to, what's our fund balance looking at, like,
Let me go back, let me pull it up real quick. I wanna say it was 17, but
is that a 17, what factors are we taking into consideration to achieve that 17% fund balance?
at the time that it was done, let's see, actually, 2021, I was showing a 19.128% fund balance projection. Everything for revenue stayed the same, so I'll need to look at that again. And then just a step increase for all staff has been taken into consideration in the expense side. But at this time, that's the only changes that have been made to the next 3 years. So,
Okay.
So, and all of these are projections, even the 1920 projections based on no emergencies coming up and the county adding this 1 and 1 comes out to be 2 rather than 3 or 4 or minus. All right. Anything else that you have?
no, none of this stuff, not on that.
All right, let's see what's next on the agenda. These for discussion, the board travel, I think that was Mr. Watry's.
Yeah,
Do you
we
want to discuss that?
discussed that in the policy committee. And Shelley, can you, in a short version, explain to us the procurement process? Instead of having a credit card, if board members are elected to have a card with a set limit.
And that's what the district has now, the purchasing cards, that's
Yeah.
what all of our cards are. So I can take a card and I can make whatever credit limit I want on that card. I can limit it to travel only, I can limit it to travel and meals. So I can basically put any limits on a card that I want and set a specific credit limit on there.
Okay. And our board policy already allows for board members who choose to have a purchase card for an event like a conference or in district business. It's already written for board members who choose to have one, can have one at the board's discretion.
I haven't read it myself, but does it specify what is not reimbursable?
That would follow the guidelines set for all travel for the district. So we have a specific guideline set up. It's actually, she moved it to the hub, but we have travel guidelines that are on the internet, and it basically tells you where you can park at the airports, how many bags you can take, what your meals are for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, in
Doesn't
state
pay
and out
for
of state.
cigarettes and cigars and drinks.
No phone calls, no any of that. So.
The reason I asked that question is kind of being facetious, but I have to tell you why it's so facetious. I remember the Kansas City School District, and a good friend of mine was president at the time. They brought a consultant in, and it was something like $64 for drinks. They spent half of the meeting debating whether or not they ought to pay the $64. I got so disturbed in the meeting. I said, Madam President, may I just make a comment, just as a taxpaying citizen of this district? Can't you just move on, either say you're gonna pay, you don't pay, and if you need to, I'll pass the hat in here. And so we got beyond it, but they spent half the meeting talking about it. And the fellow that was there, he said, I'll pay for it. But it was already on the card, and anyway, so that's why I asked that question. So,
Yes, no alcohol.
so those who travel far, near, or far, not near, that are, that like after, something after dinner or before dinner, that,
They should probably use their own money for that.
yes, yes,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I think, based on, you know, the amount of time and, giving board members the opportunity to, get their professional development, I think that is something that I'm willing to share with the board. The option if a member is traveling, because the card can be at 0 when you're not traveling, so it doesn't put the district in any harm's way. If there's a.
So the board member would keep the card all the time, or just go when they get ready to travel again?
What we do on all cards except for Dr. Cargill's is we keep them in the vault in
Yeah.
the business
Okay, so
office.
if
And
I
they have to
can
come
travel
in
to
with approvals and
Timbuktu,
sign
I come
them
to
out.
you and,
We keep
And I
your-
don't keep mine.
We keep yours
It's
too?
locked away somewhere. I will not leave this building with it unless I'm traveling.
Right, so, yeah, they have to have approvals by their supervisor. They have to fill out a form, tell us what they're buying. If it's items, then they have to have a printout showing us what those items are, so we know this is exactly what they're buying. And then they sign out the card. We have a credit card form that they have to sign saying that they'll follow the district policies before they can check out the card, and we keep that on file as well, so.
Yeah. I think it warrants a discussion with the board to
Okay.
afford them the option.
because you could approve whether or not folks, I say I wanna go to Timbuktu by way of train.
Reasonable, I mean, whether you travel with car,
Can't get to
plane,
Timbuktu
it has
by,
to be
Timbuktu by
the
train.
least expensive, travel,
Okay, all right, okay.
route. So I think that, we should present that to the board as an option. I do not believe it is fair for board members to put their hard-earned income up to do district business and district travel. A lot of members of our board have children and families, and I just don't think it's fair to them to have to put their money on hold. An emergency, you don't know, people's financial situation.
Now, we have not done that with our employees. We don't let them put the deposit on the district card. They have to use their own personal cards when they go to the hotels.
Yeah, I understand. But they work for the district and they receive a check. Board members volunteer for the district and dedicate a number of hours, days, times, countless conversations, personal bills, gas, that is not reimbursed. And so those are two different situations.
Well, I wouldn't use the card anyway. I'd just rather go wherever and give them my debit card because I don't drink and I won't be drinking that $5 water and whatever. So I just, and then bring the bill back and be reimbursed. That's what I'd rather do than use the card because I've seen, well, too much going on.
Yeah, but the policy's already ready for board members to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that option.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay. All right, we've done enough with that.
Our policy states that there's a purchasing card, or it's in the process of being revised to say that.
No, it currently says
It currently says
that
it.
board members, let me pull the policy.
Okay, I thought that was the whole point of adding it on the policy committee.
It's
to-
already
to
there.
say-
To
Okay,
discuss, we wanted to discuss it in detail,
Mhm.
and that's what those highlights were, that we discussed at the board meeting, at the, policy meeting. Update on vacant buildings, Mr. Weekly,
Yes.
that's you, Mr. Brooks.
Okay, so we've, the bond timeline, we've already dealt with that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The vacant building,
Update on vacant buildings.
update from me on vacant,
Oh.
all I know is they're vacant. That's
Right.
all.
I have a few questions and concerns about the
Go ahead.
building.
Sure.
How are we, did you provide the board a, maintenance schedule for that? Are we cutting it
For the
back?
vacant buildings,
Mhm.
what we're doing, we're just still doing preventative maintenance on systems like air conditioning, things like that. We've cut off water to Old Smith Hale and to Symington. We're in the process of cutting off the water to Johnson in here in the next week or so. Well, we're still maintaining HVAC, and at this time, there's not really any other maintenance we need to do, as long as we maintain the air temperature and things. That's what we're maintaining right now.
How about the grounds?
Yeah, we're still cutting grass and that kind of thing. But we're not like replacing light bulbs or, you know, doing stuff like, we still gotta do, backflow tests and stuff like that. I mean, normal stuff that we would have to do anyway to have any type of occupancy. We still do those kind of things, fire alarm checks and stuff like that. We still go through that process. So, cause it's a building that has our property in it and it still, you know, can be occupied, so.
Seem like our targets for break-ins have not been vacant buildings, but those that are in use. I think
Well, Johnson,
was, yes.
yeah, Johnson's been hit a little bit
Yeah.
lately, yes, quite a bit lately, so, we're boarding up those windows and trying to do that as quickly as possible.
And I'm glad that you brought it up, Director Brooks, because based on the recent chain of emails, I would move that we really move this to closed session so that we can discuss what we're going to do with the vacant buildings. If we're going to go with a broker on all of them or whatever, one at a time, I'm not sure. What does the
Yeah.
legal counsel?
Yes, you can move this item to closed session. I've conducted some legal research on it, and so I think that it's appropriate to move to closed session pursuant to Missouri Statute 610.0212. That allows for the discussion on the lease of Salem property to be moved to closed session. It seems appropriate for that to be a closed session item for the full board.
Could Madam Secretary, make sure we get that part in there, and who said it, just in case something comes up that we didn't want. I'm just kidding, but just at least the revised statute number, that kind of thing. Yes, okay,
Okay,
thank
so,
you.
Director Brooks, I move that we move the, selling of our vacant properties to closed session. What's that number again?
610.021(2).
All right, I'll second that. Any further discussion?
No.
Not all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so ordered. Okay. I think this goes along with this, is this a different community advisory council? Is the same one we talked about in relation to the bond?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Assessment update?
I think you're wanting, I've got tax levy on here as well, so we can kind
Yeah,
of
we can do that together?
cover it all
Yeah,
together.
please.
Okay.
We got our finalized assessed value, came in at $501,235,452. And that is $101 million higher than 2018, 25.02% increase in assessed value. Our general fund levy has been pushed from a 5.4717 to a 4.4784. And then our debt service fund can stay at the 1.1. So, for a total levy of 5.5784 for the 2019 tax year. It should be bringing in, where's my sheet here?
What would be helpful is if you could provide us with what we received last year and what we're anticipating on receiving this year.
I've got all that.
I can't see it in my brain that fast. It's just a lot of numbers rolling
Well, it'll be
together.
part of the budget.
It'll be on
That information is part of the budget, and then I'll also have the tax levy
The levy
notice.
here.
But, yeah, I have all that.
Can you repeat that one more time for me, please?
Sure. The general fund levy is 4.4784. The debt service levy is 1.1, for the total levy of 5.5784. And I thought I had brought it. I can tell you how much revenue that's supposed to bring in. Just a moment. I didn't bring my levy notice. I thought I did. But I did. That will generate $960,918, but 10% of that we set aside as uncollectible. So we're looking at probably 2.5. Let me get the number actually. My spreadsheet here. So it was 25,431,351 after the 10% for uncollectible taxes.
That's after,
Yes,
25 million after.
right. Now that's broke out over general and debt, but that is the number that we would be expecting in revenue.
And based on your earlier reports, how much of an increase is that from the earlier reports with the recommendation of the superintendent not to take the assessment value into consideration?
Actually wasn't very much. Go back and look real quick. I had said a 1.3, I think last time.
Yeah, I think it's for,
I need a piece of paper. I can't keep up with millions of dollars of taxpayers in a conversation. I kind of need to see it. I'm sorry.
Okay, what is it that you're wanting to
The,
see?
the numbers.
Okay, so you're wanting to know the increase from last year to this
Yes, I would
year?
like to know the increase from last year to this year.
That would be all part of my budget that I was gonna present, so, but I can definitely get that information for you.
Yeah.
okay. Anything else on that? Anything else you want to say? Yes, anything else? Questions, breaks? Any other questions? Any questions?
No, I don't have any at this time. But I would like to have just a projection of a summary of what you're talking to us about prior to the board meeting, so that I can ask any questions that I don't have enough information to ask the type of questions I would like to ask tonight.
And that's what she works on in terms of the finalized budget, which is the board packet. That's why we released the board packet a week in advance to give board members an opportunity to review it and then ask questions either prior to. So the board packet will be released, is it the 17th or the 18th?
We're supposed to have ours submitted, I think, on the 16th.
The 16th, because the meeting is on a Tuesday, so it'll be next Tuesday. So then all of that information will be in here.
Yeah,
But she's still working on finalizing those numbers.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I just like to work alongside and
The
kind
quick
of,
scenario, it's about 1.5 million more.
it's about 1.5 million
Right,
more.
that's just looking at the numbers really quickly, I'm not adding them, but it's about 1.5.
1.5 million more than what was discussed earlier.
Yes, than what was projected using the cap that we had talked about before, that I had said we would use because we didn't know whether it was gonna go up or down. That's what I did the preliminary budget at. So with this change in the assessed value, even with the decrease in tax levy, a quick look, it's about 1.5, but I'll have a definite number for you.
So this 27 mil is pretty fixed?
Based on, yes, the assessed value has been certified by Jackson County, so that will not change. The only thing that we could get would be letters from the county saying this amount has been disputed. So, and then you just wouldn't get your funds on it. So this number will not change for 2019.
No chance of them going after something else?
Well, I spoke with Gail, I'm sorry, I can't remember her last name,
McCann.
for Jackson County. And she stated that the Hickman Mills District had their disputes for the Board of Equalization on the 17th of this month. So there's probably gonna be quite a few disputes for this area. But that will come through, like I said, as letters of just protested taxes.
All right. Okay. Our MVWB program, does that come under our legal counsel? 5.6?
Yes, so the desire is to establish an NDEWBE policy. To do that legally, it requires, some kind of a statistical analysis on availability and utilization of existing, minority and women-owned businesses. There are some, race-neutral means that can be set up, in a policy that will help capture some of the, MBE and WBE firms, and try to increase utilization of those using race-neutral means. And so that policy can be established, but to establish a formal MBE, WBE policy that actually sets numeric goals to utilizing minority and women-owned businesses is gonna require, hiring someone that can conduct a statistical
Okay.
analysis of
Yeah.
that.
What do they call that, a?
Disparity study?
Disparity study.
Yeah. You know Philip Yaldi, over the city
Yeah.
director?
Okay.
I don't know how broad, did your firm do that study?
Not this last one. We've done one for the city before. We did not do this last disparity study. We're not part of that team. But their numbers are based upon
Yeah.
a disparity study that was conducted by a national consultant.
I always have had, I haven't, let me do this, I have not had good luck with race neutral. Because there's no order. In other words, my good faith effort, it's in the language, sometimes you don't have anything to come back on. If I don't make my good faith effort, then you got to figure it is because it's race neutral. And I realize that if we use how much money annually do we put out of this in construction? Can you give me about football cost figure?
Outside vendors you're talking about? I don't know, I'd guess and say $500,000.
For outside vendors?
Yeah.
Construction?
Well, I'm thinking of HVAC.
So if we're going to
plumbing,
this bond, see,
electrical.
I think it would.
my
more.
concern is this, when we get this bond passed, and that bond money there, that go with all these, construction, but some of these folks will play games with you.
Sure.
They don't wanna do it anyway, and unless you've got something to back it up, you're out there, and we may end up with zero, or if we, and you can't set goals, really. I mean, you can set them, but they don't have much meaning if there's nothing to enforce it.
Well, what you would have on a race neutral policy, what I'm thinking about is maybe a small business policy. You can't set small business goals because they're neutral racially on face. And as you know, most of your MBEs and WBE firms are small firms. And so that's a way to capture and increase utilization of those firms by setting some kind of a goal and creating a policy to encourage the use of small businesses. You could look at businesses that are in this geographic area, in the district's area. There are things that you'll do that can promote and provide a direct increase in minority and women-owned businesses without actually having to set MBE and WBE goals. The only way that you're going to be able to set those numeric goals.
Yeah. See, I'm thinking about the construction side of all that, which would be the biggest chunk of what it's what the bond would be for. And if you say, I think the city, and sometimes another, has about a 15 or 16% for MBEs and about 6 or 7% for WBEs, and then you get caught up in that disadvantage, which I opposed when I was administered all the time and got away with it. Statute of limitations, but I got away with it without, we're not talking about disadvantage because other folk come in disadvantaged. But my point is that that since, and we don't have any, well, we do have, I'm not sure how many GCs we have that are of color, either in Hispanic or African American side. But most of those are bedded up out of business. But I'm wondering whether if we said X number percent, whether there are those, I think there are those that could take a contract with those larger. That's my point. Well, I understand what you're saying. That's the way we have to do it. Unless we have that disparity study, we kind of don't have anything else.
How long does it take to do a disparity study?
Normally about 18 months.
So I think you spoke a couple of meetings ago about maybe setting up a, what terminology did you use? Not a policy, but procedure that the district could,
What would be a small business?
be a small, explain that. Can you provide the finance committee with, a framework of what that will look like for the district?
Sure.
By when do you think you can have that to us?
I can have it before your next finance meeting.
Okay.
Okay, good.
That is right. All right.
Okay, all right. At least we'll have something written that we don't have, that is a guideline for Mr. Weekly, or even those on the supply and side also.
Mr. Brooks, can I ask a question? Just for clarification, can you still, without a disparity study, have goals, even though maybe they're not ironclad? Could we still have goals within the bond project for our construction manager at risk?
For small businesses.
So we could, if without a disparity, you can't even set a goal, even though like for minority businesses. Okay, I just want to be clear about that, okay, for my own knowledge.
Yeah, it puts you at risk for litigation.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
I think it's very critical that we establish some type of written process with that prior to the bond.
The broker, what is that next?
Financial broker.
5.8?
Financial broker for 2020 general bond application.
What I've done on the memo is just kind of did a historical look at the things that have accomplished with Stifel as a broker over the past 5 years. So the first one is about the Early Childhood Center in 2014. That's when we began working with Stifel. Previously, we had worked with George K. Baum, and when we were talking about doing the renovation, George K. Baum didn't believe that it was something that we could do, but then get a low enough interest rate, and they were even talking 8%. So that's when we brought Stifel in, and he was able to get us a 2% to a 4% ending in the 2034 school year, 2034. Then in 2015, he recommended a refunding of our 2005 general obligation bond, which saved the district 1.2 in principal and then 158,000 in interest. And then in 2016, Stifel recommended refunding of our 2008 general obligation bond to lower the interest rate from 5% to an average of 3.425 over the last 5 years of the bond. And this saved the district $254,000 in interest in the 2016-17 school year. In 2016, Stifel worked with the district on the $19 million 2016 general obligation bond. And the bond was a no tax increase bond due to the decrease of principal and interest provided by Stifel Nichols in the previous year. The sale of the bonds were opened up to the Hickman Mills community and then to purchase along with all of the buyers, and brought in $20,364,000 for the project fund itself. So, and this bond had an interest rate of 2% until 2029 and a 4% interest from 2030 to 2036. And then also in 15-16, we worked with them to do a $13,560,000 performance contract for the new boiler at Hickman and plumbing and electrical improvements across the district. At the recommendation of Stiefel, the district split this $13 million into 2 performance contracts to keep it under the $10 million, which allowed the district a better interest rate on the certificates of participation. The 2015 performance contract was for $9.8 million, had an interest rate of 3%, and then the 2016 performance contract was for 3.7, and that with an interest rate of 2%. And then in 2017, we worked with Stiefel on the defeasance on the 2016 A bond. The district's debt service levy is set at 1.1, which has allowed the district not to increase the tax rate of previous and future general obligation bonds. So due to the increase in assessed value in 2017, the district was over the limit in debt service fund and was able to pay off early principal of $1,875,000 and $2,377,873 in interest. So the cost benefit, the district has seen savings of 1.2 in principal and $2,536,257 in interest in the 5 years that Stiefel has been the district financial broker. The district has also saw $1,364,662 in the project fund for the 2016 general obligation bonds due to the work of Stiefel during the sale of the bonds. So the recommendation is Stiefel has a long-standing reputation for doing good work in the field and are attentive to the needs of the district. Due to the long-term positive relationship with Stiefel and the proven success of savings for the district, the superintendent recommends Stiefel as the district financial broker for the 2020 general obligation bond.
It's interesting, I think George K. Baum used to be on the New York Stock Exchange. What they began to,
Well, Stiefel just purchased.
I know it, that's what I'm saying, but I'm a little surprised because they were top.
We worked with them for years.
You know,
Greg Brecker,
the
I
whole
don't know.
family,
Yeah,
local folk.
we were really surprised when
Junior is still around, what's your discussion,
Well,
Madam
I
President?
mean, if there's no discussion based on superintendent recommendation, I move that we accept the recommendation.
I'll second that motion. I'll second that motion. Any discussion that we need, anybody? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so be it, we'll go forward. Okay, thank you so very much, very thorough. And I was able to hear both of those presentations, and I think that they certainly seem as though they've not only done a good job, but also in the future. Good. And I think we've dealt with the levy already. Future agenda items?
I think we should bring back the reading of the WBE and MBE policy, procedure that small business procedure or that Carla's the firm is going to put together for the district
For next month.
for next month.
If you don't mind, I'd like to ask Philip about that. I know that I know 'cause it's been tested there, and I'll give him a call tomorrow and tell him what we're up against. He made a presentation for us about 4 months ago. And what pretty much did what we had to have and the disparities that we had to do, and he mentioned all that. And I'm just wondering whether there's, not questioning your judgment on it, but based on his experience before we had the disparity, then they have that board what do they call the board?
I can't remember the board, but I know.
You decide for appeal too.
Yeah.
The,
Can't remember.
yeah, but thank Mary Charles really was chairing it for a while, I think. Okay. All right. All righty. Anything else we need to add to the agenda finishing up, Superintendent?
Not at this time for staffing. I do have a clarifying question for the item 5.8. Does that move forward to consent?
Yes.
Yes.
And then in terms of just the discussion of the board around April or August, that will be on discussion.
Mhm.
All right.
But we'll be looking to take action one way or the other.
Yeah, okay. I'm drafting an email for Ms. Payton so she can transfer everything for the September 24th agenda.
Do you have anything, you're here you're here looking studious, is there
What?
anything? Do you have anything you wanna add
Even
to
that
this?
this hour.
August budget?
No, I'm good. I'm good this
You're
evening.
just sitting in just for the ride?
Yeah.
You're free
Taking
ride?
it in.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. Okay, our future meetings, facilities committee, we know what that is, the levy hearing. Levy hearing. Okay, yes, okay. Regular session board meeting on the 24th. Is there anything else that we need to bring up that we can say to prolong this meeting? I hope not.
And I just want to remind you that you have another obligation after this.
Yes, I'm reminded of it, I'm reminded of it. And if there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.